let's talk about eczema.
Today's juices are 32 ounces of celery juice, a juice made of spinach, butter lettuce, an apple, and a piece of ginger. Today I'm making a smoothie made of ginger, banana, some raw honey, some frozen mangoes, and some lime juice. Just add some water and blend. This will be enough glucose, mineral salts, and potassium to help fuel me as I head out for the day.
So I have spoken about several things that I have healed from and things that I'm still working on, just like dealing with nerve issues, fatigue, brain fog. You constantly hear me speaking of those symptoms. But what I haven't spoke about on YouTube quite yet is my eczema. And let me just tell you a little backstory. So I've had eczema since I was a baby, basically. And at different periods of my life, they were better and sometimes they were really, really bad. The worst time was when I was in my adolescent years, and I was basically covered from head to toe. And my doctor told me that my eczema was so bad that she said, hey, you know, I've never seen a case this bad, and I'm not quite sure if your skin will ever go back to normal. Now, for someone who's a little darker toned in the skin, this was not a good thing, because when eczema on a darker skin tone flares up, it's red when it's actually itchy, and then when it starts to heal, it leaves this white discoloration in the skin. And so I had white spots all over my body, to the point that, like, you know, the students in school would be telling me, oh, calling me spots or making fun, or would look at me weird. And I grew up in a hot climate, so I always wanted to cover up my eczema so that nobody would see it. But I mean, I did have it on my face as well, but I tried to cover up the worst parts, which were on my legs and arms. But I mean, you're extremely hot, and when you're hot, it makes it more itchy. So the doctor told me I was allergic to the sun and that my skin would probably never go back to normal. I'm going to show you. Do you see that? It went back to normal. Okay, so that part is incorrect. I did actually go back to normal, and I didn't scar with discoloration like how she told me. I just had to put that in there just to show you that sometimes, because the doctors are not aware of information, not saying that they're not smart, but they don't have the information available, they don't really know what to do with you either. And that's what I became. This is prior to the whole advancement of technology now and what they know about eczema. Now it seems like everyone seems to have eczema, but back then nobody really had it. And I was really a science project. And I think I was in the beginning stages of using steroid creams and stuff. So they put me on a steroid cream, and it did absolutely nothing. It basically, I don't know why, but intuitively I stopped using it. I was like, I'm not going to use this. It burns, and it's not really helping my itch. It doesn't actually make the eczema flare up go away. So why am I going to use this? And I don't know why at 13 years old, I didn't want to use it anymore. And so, fortunately, I had gone away to stay with one of my uncles and auntie, and she was in a very clean diet and clean way of cooking, contrary to what my parents cook like. And so she didn't use salt, and she didn't use a lot of fat, because my uncle had high blood pressure and cholesterol. So, and no snacks in their house. My house had a ton of snacks, tons of sugar, tons of processed food. So I was following the way she ate because that's all I had to eat at that time when I was staying with them. And I noticed that my eczema cleared up. And this is only 3-week period time. And so I was like, oh, when I come back from, and I started feeling good. Like I started to get energy. And so I thought, oh, this is the way to live. But when I returned back home, I couldn't follow it. And I fell back into my regular, eating habits. But the next summer that I went to visit them, I stayed a little bit longer. And so the habits could stay a little bit longer. And I told myself, I am not going to eat the way I was because, again, my eczema cleared up. And I had energy again. And I was like, and the weight started dropping. I started losing weight. And I was like, this is great. And so I was like, no, I'm going to lessen my salt amount. I forbid myself from using soy sauce. That was like the huge thing because I was one who used soy sauce every time I ate something. So I told myself no more soy sauce, to not eat processed foods. I snacked on stuff, but I really just kind of sort of stopped eating processed. I tried my best to eat clean at that time. And you know what? My eczema completely disappeared. My skin was great. I didn't scar. It was like I healed. Fast forward, that was like in the 90s. So fast forward to now that was 13 years old, and then I hit my 25, like mid 20s. And I went through extreme stress, through relationship, and also my job, and I broke out in hives everywhere on my body. And I went to my doctor, and she's like, I don't know what it is. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know what it is? That's why I'm coming to see you, is to find out what is going on with my body. But she's like, oh, it's not your eczema. I'm like, I know that. It looks different from my eczema. And I had hives. It was like hives, big welts all over my body. And she gave me a bunch of tests. And she's like, oh, your dust mite score is normally on a scale from 0 to 100. And 0 meaning you're not allergic to dust mites, 100 meaning you're highly allergic. My dust mite score was 1,895. She looked at me like, how am I surviving? And basically told me I need to live in a plastic bubble. And I should get rid of all carpet, all material things in my house, and that in my car, and I should cover everything with plastic. And I was devastated. I was so devastated because I was like, who wants to live their life like that? And that's like, it taught me to live in this life of fear. And I remember my grandma told me, this is what my grandma told me. She's like, don't worry about that. Why are you worried about this whole plastic thing? You've been living in your apartment for like 5 years, 6 years, and nothing has ever happened to you like this. Why all of a sudden the dust mites are bothering you? And so I took that into consideration, and I thought, okay, I don't need to cover everything, but let me just try to clean as much as possible. And so the hive stayed. She gave me steroids and cortisone, and it stayed for like 2 months, and then it disappeared. And then it was mysteriously just gone. And then fast forward, so that was in my mid-20s. Fast forward to my late 30s, and I ended up with a huge eczema flare-up after doing the paleo or no sugar diet. And I hit an all-time low. Again, I was covered with eczema, and it was raging, and it was so itchy. And let me tell you about an eczema itch. An eczema itch, for those who don't understand what eczema itch feels like, is an itch that can never be scratched. It will never be satisfied no matter how much you scratch it. And I don't care how much people tell you, well, if you don't scratch it, then it won't itch. That is absolutely false. It is itching by the wind just blowing on it. It is itching by you just sitting there. It is itching if you try to even tell yourself not to think about it. it itches. It's so itchy. Like, it is unbelievable itch. And so for someone to tell you, oh, just don't scratch it, that's totally impossible. Because it's not the scratching that is causing the itch. It is itching because the nerves and the toxins that are being released through your skin is making it itch. So, hit my late 30s, got into this huge eczema flare-up, and finding the medical medium, Anthony William, the medical medium, and following his protocols and his recommendations to solving the root problem of eczema is what has been giving me long-lasting results. And not only has it been giving long-lasting results, it has been giving me an understanding of how eczema works, its cycles, where it comes from. And this is all information that is out there and is available, and I'll leave links down below in the comments. But yeah, like, eczema is something so serious and it's painful, and people don't understand how bad eczema can really be. I mean, it makes you depressed because you look a certain way and you're miserable. Like, when you have a flare-up, all you can think about is scratching. You can't think about anything else besides your skin is itching. Like, there were times where I couldn't wear any clothes. Like, I just lied there in my underwear, just trying to not itch. Putting ice packs, trying to stay as cool as possible, trying to not have things irritate the skin. I mean, there's no lotion. There's nothing topical that you can put. People are gonna ask me, well, what lotion did you use? What ointment? What is your skincare? It has nothing to do with any of that. Getting to the root problem is what's going to heal you from eczema. And I'll just explain it, because I'm going to explain what it is, but for more information, you got to read the links, because me explaining it, you're going to have so many questions and you're not going to have a full understanding, and it's not going to serve purpose by just only listening to this video. So you have to dive into it and really learn all about it to have a successful plan to heal. You can't just take this excerpt and be like, okay, I know what to do now, because this is not going to be enough. So eczema is actually the stem of it comes from a virus. Normally it's Epstein Barr Virus, in the body, feeding off of copper. And when it feeds off of copper, it gives off this byproduct called a dermatoxin. And that dermatoxin is released in the skin, your dermis layer, and it is causing that flare-up and that reaction, and that's what's causing that thing. So what I do and how I am healing from eczema, or I don't know, I would say I'm pretty much, I have flare-ups every so often, a very minor one though. But how it's all under control and I'm having no flare-ups at this moment is that I am working at healing, like killing the virus, the Epstein Barr virus. That's part of my protocols. I do things to get rid of heavy metals, so get rid of that copper. And I also am eating a low-fat diet, or right now a no-fat diet, to help heal my liver so that it can help dish out all these things and support my body in this whole flushing out of toxins and Epstein Barr virus, and keeping the health of my skin good. So a lot of people have asked, what's my skincare routine? What do I use? What's the result of my skin, and what's the product? There is no product. It really boils down to taking care of your liver. The health of your skin is a result of taking care of your liver. And this is all stuff that I learned from Anthony William, the medical medium. You're not going to find it anywhere else. This is my source, my resource of information. And, choose to believe it or not, but I mean, I'm living proof to me that, what he's putting out there is true. And I'm not selling you a product. I'm not trying to tell you to buy into this whole thing. I'm just sharing what has worked for me since everyone was curious. And it's up to you what you want to do with the information. Totally up to you. I just feel like I would be more of a disservice if I didn't share and didn't give you the opportunity to read it or not read it or look at it or research it or not. So this is not me selling you on a certain thing. This is not me trying to sell you a certain lifestyle or product. This is just me sharing what has worked for me. And I hope that this will help you too.
In the afternoon, I had a green juice and a banana to help refuel my body from my day being out on the town. And you guessed it, for dinner, it's just steamed potatoes, some cucumbers, and a green juice. Something very simple. That is it for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow.